Good afternoon, everybody, and happy Friday. Thank you to everybody who is joining us today for the last Unwrapped event in October. Today, my name is Devin Desjardins. I'm Director of Marketing and Storytelling for United Way of the Greater Triangle, and I have had the pleasure of hosting these conversations over the past couple of months along with my colleague Allison Cobb. Today, we're speaking with Heather Dennis, who is the Executive Director of Dress for Success in the Triangle. Their mission is to empower women to achieve economic independence by providing a network of support, professional attire, and the development tools to help women thrive in work and in life. Heather is also one of United Way's inaugural 10 to Watch leaders. For those who are unfamiliar with 10 to Watch, it's an initiative that United Way launched in 2018 because we recognize that as a community, we haven't supported enough minority leaders best positioned to design effective solutions for the communities in which they work. In this instance, minority leaders are defined as leaders of color and or women. So through multi-year investments in 10 local organizations and leaders, this 10 to Watch initiative intentionally addresses racial, gender, and power disparities in leadership by empowering local communities, amplifying the voices of nonprofit leaders of color and women, and preparing the broader communities for these leaders' continued success. Important to note from the start. Finally, it's very cool to note that Dress for Success is also part of the Sustaining Family Table Collaborative alongside other United Way partners, including Step Up Ministry in Wake County, Catholic Charities, and Alliance Medical Ministry. That collaborative is funded by United Way and provides wraparound services that families need to be successful. So Dress for Success's impact is not just fueled by United Way donors and their work specifically, but also their work within collaboratives and their work within specific initiatives. So when you donate to United Way, you are supporting everything that I just described. For those of you who have never seen an Unwrapped episode before, we're going to spend about 45 minutes digging deep with Heather about Dress for Success's impact in the Triangle and how United Way donors like yourself are influential in keeping their mission going. We'll also hear directly from Ms. Anita Leggett, who is using support from Dress for Success during this pandemic to reevaluate her own personal and professional aspirations. And then finally, we'll end with Q&A. So if you guys are like me and your memory is less than stellar, please feel free to leave questions as you think of them in the chat box as we go. We will monitor them just to see what's coming in. And then at the end of everything, we will go ahead and ask those questions, and Heather and Anita can answer those personally. Finally, I do want to note, for those of you who are here early, you might have heard me say this. I have a 2-year-old daughter, and the colds that she picks up from daycare do not stay there. So I am recovering from one myself. So my colleague, Allison Cobb, might pick up should I need to go off camera for a second to cough. So thank you for your grace there. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Heather and Anita. Heather, can you go ahead and tell us a bit more about Dress for Success in the Triangle?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us and giving us the opportunity to talk a little bit about what we do. As you said, our mission is to work with women who are unemployed and underemployed to gain the skills and, if needed, the clothing to interview for and get that job and advance their career. So we do that in a lot of different ways, but what I like to think of it as is what we're really giving is confidence. So whether it is the confidence in that perfect interview suit, if it's confidence because you have worked with one of our coaches to get your resume exactly like you wanted it, maybe you've done a mock interview, so you have practiced that elevator speech until you just can read it forward, backwards, you know it like the back of your hand. All of that instills in you confidence. And that's what makes the difference when you're sitting in that interview room. You know, it's a scary proposition, but when you have that core of confidence, it really shines through. So we like to say we give confidence. We just do it in a lot of different ways.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Can you tell us a little bit more about the history of Dress for Success?
Sure. A lot of people may be familiar with the name Dress for Success, and it might even be from places they've lived before they came to the Triangle. So we're an affiliate of an international organization. It started in New York City in 1997, and quickly went, a large swath of the country and even overseas, which is where our founder, this local chapter founder, first interacted with Dress for Success when she was working in Europe. And so when she retired and came back to the Triangle, she said, okay, I want to volunteer some time with the local Dress for Success affiliate, only to learn there wasn't one. So if anyone who knows Pat Nathan knows, that's all she needed to hear as a challenge. And 12 years ago, she opened this affiliate here. So we've been in the Triangle 12 years. Our first boutique location was in Durham. Within a year or so, we opened up a second location here in Raleigh. The boutiques have looked very different through those 12 years, being co-located with other organizations. At one point, I think we were in the basement of Northgate Mall in Durham, but we do have both locations. We are in Raleigh on Tillery Place and in Durham on Guest Road in one of the strip malls of Northgate Mall. So, I know we're going to talk a little bit about the pandemic later. So we're also virtual now. So we consider that almost a third location. But in the 12 years that we've been here, we have served over 16,000 women. So it's, 12 years, I'm sure, seems like a long time in some ways and a short time in others, but we have definitely made an impact in our time here.
Amazing. I love a woman who sees a missing piece in society and is like, you know what, I'll do it.
That's right.
I love that. It's fantastic. Thank you for that. So what is something that the average resident might be surprised to know about Dress for Success?
So I think a lot of people think of this picture here on the right. They think of the interview suit. I mean, it is kind of right there in our name, dress, right? And it is definitely a core part of what we do. Any of us who have put on that outfit that just made us feel like Superwoman, we know the importance of that right outfit. But it's not enough just to look the part. You have to be the part. So I think people may not realize the depth of our service. So we offer one-on-one career coaching where a client can meet with a trained volunteer to work on whatever part of her career search is pertinent to her. So she's going to have a resume. If she doesn't have one when she walks in, she's going to have one when she leaves. And if she did start with one, it's going to get polished while she's in there. She's going to get her elevator speech. She's going to practice that tricky question, whatever that may be for her in the interview. We have had folks come back and meet with career coaches at evaluation time, or once they got offered a job to negotiate a higher salary. So they're really there to help in whatever part of the process. We also have job acquisition classes, and that's the other picture you see on the slide here. Obviously, that was when we could all be together in one room, but that is our Going Places network. It is a multi-week class that is a deep dive into gaining the skills that are needed to get a job. And Strength Builders is a big part of that. And I certainly hope Anita will tell her story later. She will talk about her experience in that class. But as important as the skills that are gained in that class, they also gain a network. So the folks who go through that process together are there for each other to champion them, to give them that boost before they go into the interview and to help talk them through after the interview. It's really a neat thing to see in that process. And again, the mock interviews are a huge part of that process. We work with a lot of the corporations in the area that have our folks come in, whether in person or virtually these days, and go through the whole process of an interview. And give immediate feedback on the resume, how they answered the questions. And, it's vital feedback for the person going through. It is confidence building in that you've gone process so you're not overwhelmed by, parking and getting signed in or getting logged into the right Zoom room and all of that. But it also has produced actual employment. We have had several people who, in this most recent cohort, we had an example of where someone interviewed and that person forwarded the resume right away to somebody else and said, we're hiring a position that I think you'd be really good for. I think that was on a Thursday that they did the mock interview, and that next week she had her real interview. So really great stories around that. Another thing I think people may not realize is that we are there for folks after they get a job too. So in addition to the interview suiting, we also do the employment suiting. So I'm pointing over here because I'm looking at our boutique. When you get your job, you can come back and get a week's worth of clothing for that position. So that may be, business casual, maybe business suits, it may be scrubs, so we will work with that client for their job. And again, the idea is the last thing we want when you start a new job is to feel unconfident in what you're wearing. And we are also have our Networking for Success group, which is a group that continues to meet. We want to give the same idea of that network of support as folks traverse their career path, not just up until the time they get employed. So I appreciate you letting me share all the other things we do besides just the suit.
Absolutely. That's one of the things I love about Dress for Success and the fact that United Way funds you guys as a partner is because, you said it, people know the name, but people only know a very small part, unless they've been following your newsletter or have volunteered before or have been part of the program, people only know a very small part of what you do, and it's really so much more. I had a quick question that came up while you were describing that. You talk about careers and strength builders. Do you help women target specific types of careers? Are you looking more for the longevity, or are you looking more for the job?
Absolutely. I will say it's a little bit of both, but we're definitely weighted more towards the latter because, again, the mission is about success and financial independence. And so short-term or jobs without a real chance of advancement are less likely to achieve that long-term goal. Right. But we do feel it's very important that we work with our clients. So we want it to be something that is, am I muted?
Sorry, I was trying to mute myself and with this.
Okay. I'm not touching it. How did I break it?
No, that was my fault. I apologize.
No worries. Technology is a great thing some days, right?
Yes.
What I think I was saying is that we do think it's important that we work in conjunction with the client. So we want it to be a career path that they are happy with as well. So, it's not that everybody comes in, we say, oh, you need to be in STEM or you need to be a computer programmer. We talk with the person about what their preferences are and what their vision is. But we do have folks who bring a lot of expertise, and a big part of Going Places Network and the beauty of mock interviews is to show the breadth of options that are available and how important transferable skills are. And I may be jumping ahead and spoiling an answer later, but that is a key thing in this current environment because a lot of the positions that have gone away as a result of this pandemic may not come back, and certainly are not going to come back in the numbers that we had them before. So while women have been disproportionately affected by that, it's going to be vital that we work to figure out how they can take those transferable skills into another industry that it does have a higher need.
Wow. That forward thinking is critical, especially as our economy recovers and then we sustain it, but also as more continues to happen and whatever might happen in future, decades, centuries, what have you. And I did want to touch really quickly on that mock interview, just from a personal experience perspective. I have not personally received support from Dress for Success at this point in my life, but I have gone through the experience of mock interviews to become the editor-in-chief of my college newspaper. And while that's not a long-term professional career, it was terrifying. But I went through it 2 times, and it gave me the confidence that I have carried into interviews as a professional working adult. And I think I very much feel that without that experience, without having a safe space to have that fear and to really not do well, I wouldn't have gained the courage and the experience to be able to eventually do well where it really mattered.
Mhm.
So I love that opportunity is available for people. So I want to pivot really quickly to Anita. Not all of the organizations that we interview provide a bio and a story ahead of time for the person who's going to be sharing their story, but Dress for Success was kind enough to share a little bit of Anita. So while I don't have the whole story, I love that this is a real-time example. Anita has supported the organization previously, was a part of their newsletter. And when she needed support during the pandemic, she knew exactly who to reach out to. And so Anita, I'd love for you to take it from here and tell us your story.
Okay, well, thank you, Devin, for this opportunity. I love this platform. I just have to say that Dress for Success has changed my life during this period of transition for me. This year in May of 2020, due to COVID, I lost my job of 15 years as a global mobility account manager. And I did not know what to do at this point in my life. 55 and over, the challenge of getting back into the workforce, preparing a resume was frightening to me. So Dress for Success helped me build that confidence that I needed to feel ready to re-enter the workforce. So it has just been a life-changing experience. With the pandemic, everything has been virtual, but Dress for Success has done a phenomenal job. I don't think they has skipped a beat, missed a beat, or missed a step through their virtual classes, the support system. I mean, the three, I guess I would say, three most important things that I've gotten out of the program through the classes, through the mock interviews, is the confidence that I have achieved through going through the program, the support system of incredible, strong women, empowering women, and just the knowledge that I've gained to know that I could tap into my skills, my talent, helping me to identify my talent. We had to go through the strength building. Heather had mentioned about the strength building profile test that we take. I think it's incredible because at this point, we all go through changes, and we often don't think back to what our innate natural talents and skills are. So we were able to identify that by going through the strength building course. And it has helped me to identify where I want to be, what I feel will be most beneficial, not only to fulfill some of my goals, but also to make an impact into the overall community as well.
Fantastic. I love all of this so much. I know you mentioned you had a 15-year career, and you touched on something that I hadn't even considered when I read your story originally, was that there's a lot of comfort that comes with being with one company for such an extended period of time. And losing that level of comfort, especially in the middle of the pandemic, is so hard. But now that you've gone through the Strength Builders exercise, do you think you'll be going after the same type of career, or are you looking at a career change?
I'm looking at a career change, yes. So I'm in that process of transitioning into another career. I've been able to utilize my skill set and my to identify my transferable skills. And I'm looking to broaden my talent into other areas. So yes, account management is still very high on my list, but I realize that I am a supporter as well. So I'm looking into other areas, other industries, and excited about what I consider to be my new beginning.
Amazing. What a silver lining amidst so much negative news that we've been experiencing for the past 7 months. To hear that instead of this experience getting you down, that you're utilizing it as an opportunity for incredible growth.
Exactly.
And for those who aren't aware, and please don't quote me on this stat, but I did hear recently that adults on average will switch careers 3 times in their life.
Wow.
Like complete career changes, going from one field to a whole different other one, and that it is totally normal and is based on the evolution of your skills and your interests as you go. So I just think that's so exciting for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And I do want to point out, Anita, if at any point too, the rest of the questions are going to be mainly focused at Heather, but if at any point you have something to throw in based on your own experience as well, please do. We want you to be as much of this conversation as Heather and the rest of the folks here, so don't be shy.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. So Heather, got a couple more questions for you. You touched on this a little bit earlier, but obviously with the pandemic and with social distancing measures, companies have really had to switch the way they operate. Very good example of this is what we're doing right now, because normally all these fine folks might actually be in the boutique meeting you and shaking your hand and giving you hugs if you're into that at the end of the day. So how has Dress for Success shifted operations during the COVID-19 pandemic, and what are you guys doing to keep clients safe in the facilities?
So the first thing we did is keep clients safe by not being in the facility, right? Like I had such a flashback seeing that Going Places network in that room full of people. It's hard to believe. It feels so long ago that we were able to do that. We very quickly went virtual with our career coaching, our Going Places network, all of even our networking groups. We were able to meet through Google Meets, and we like to say we've evolved some of those systems, that we do it much better now than we did back in April, but we felt like it was more important than ever that we continue that network for our clients, that network of support. We just completed, I guess, our 5th cohort of Going Places network virtually. So that meets, those classes are through either Wake Tech or Durham Tech. So they meet through those schools' preferred platforms. The classes are smaller because they're meeting virtually. Our room could hold 75, but a virtual classroom holds 35. So we're doing them more frequently to offer that same amount of opportunity. And we have gone from meeting once a week over 10 weeks to pushing those down. It's the same number of hours. They're meeting multiple times a week for 4 weeks. So again, it feels like the right transition during this time frame where people, need to get the information in a more compact time because they want to be out there job searching, not learning about job searching. So again, our corporate partners have been amazing to switch right over to mock interviews, either by conference call, Zoom call, however their platform is for virtual interviews. That's what I believe you're seeing here on the screen is one of our employers, VACO, one of our corporate partners, VACO, doing either a panel or the beginning before some mock interviews. So again, it goes without saying, but I should be very explicit. We could not do any of this without our amazing volunteers either. So those classes, those Going Places network classes, the networking groups, the career coaches, and the image coaches are by and large volunteers. So these are over 800 folks who give of their time and their energy to make this possible. It's what makes us an efficient organization as well, because it's important to us that we offer all of these services at no charge to the clients. So in addition to financial support, which we are thankful to the United Way for, and the volunteer support of those individuals, we also have the corporate partners who do the support for some of those classes and the mock interviews. We have, in the last little bit, I would say since about June, July, we have started figuring out how to safely do limited things in person in office, because as well as we were able to transition the coaching, the going places network, those type of things, we struggled to figure out how to send somebody a suit via email, right? There's just certain things that you have to be in person for. And so we do offer limited in-person interview suiting and employment suiting by appointment at each of our boutiques. We take all manner of safety precaution. I've got little X's on the floors here. We require masks for anybody who comes in. You know, we do the first part of the meeting virtual so that we limit the time that the folks are in person, face to face, for everyone's safety. Around that same time frame, we also figured out how to safely take clothing donations again. Before times, we were able to take those pretty much 3 days a week on a rolling basis. Now we're limiting that to just 1 or 2 days a month. So, and we've had to change the way folks deliver to us because we need it to be able to sit for 72 hours for, you know, safety's sake. So we've also figured out how to safely do our excess inventory sales. Again, those serve two purposes. One, it is a fundraiser for us. You know, all the money that gets raised goes right back into programs, again, making it where we never have to charge a client. But it also is a way for our clients, former clients, people who need to build out that work wardrobe on a budget, right? So our prices are very, very low, and we felt like we needed to get the sales back up at some level for both of those purposes. And so we have one more scheduled this year, which is November 20th and 21st here at our Raleigh location. It is, again, we require masks. We have sort of one-way aisles, you know, everything is social distance. We take all the precautions we can, but so over these 7 months, again, we keep using the word evolved. We've evolved our services. We've evolved what we add on. I would say the biggest success has been our Wednesday webinar series. We had one of the things that we feel like we lost in all of this, we would occasionally have panels or sort of one-off presentations where folks would come in to present on a topic that they were experts in. And we decided Wednesdays webinars, let's try it. So we have done a variety of topics, and we have evolved into, we offer 2 webinars every Wednesday. We usually do it through the Crowdcast platform, but all of our information is on our website, including the ability to register for Wednesday webinars. You don't have to be a client of ours in any other way to participate. You can register just for those. I highly recommend them. We have had topics, everything from LinkedIn and resumes and those that you would expect. I would say one of our most popular recent one was on code switching, and we're going to be doing a part 2 to that as soon as we can get it all arranged. So we have had over 1,000 attendants at those webinars since we started. So definitely something that we realize there's a need for. So we're going to continue doing. Definitely an opportunity within the challenge.
Absolutely. Wow. I feel like that was such a good answer. I feel like every time you would say something, I'd be like, oh, this would be a good follow-up question. And then you would answer that follow-up question. So I really appreciate that. One thing that I have loved seeing during this pandemic is just how quickly companies, organizations have evolved and how effectively. And there are elements of this virtual lifestyle that I personally hope, across the board, that we keep as a society, like virtual doctor's visits. I think those are fabulous, personally. Other than the Wednesday webinars, which I'm definitely going to check out, what other elements of this do you guys think you might keep?
I definitely foresee virtual services being our third boutique for a significant period of time, if not ever. And it, for a couple of reasons, but one that is so obvious in retrospect, we have consistently heard that one of the biggest barriers for women accessing our services is transportation, right? We are in Raleigh and Durham, but there are women who live in other places, and transportation to us can be a challenge. You don't need transportation for a virtual appointment, right? And so I definitely think that that's there. It also allows us to hit parts of the triangle that we might not would be able to service in person, right? Because we don't have a location there. So it definitely feels like that part will stay. And we have gotten great feedback from volunteers where before, if they are still working, they were only available on a weekend to us, but now they can take, I can take a career coaching appointment on my lunch hour, right? So they can sneak in little snippets of volunteering that is less impactful to their schedule than having to drive to our boutique. And, usually that means committing 2 or 4 hours.
Right.
So, I definitely think that will stay. I definitely think the Wednesday webinars are here to stay. One thing that I think we will, when possible, layer back in the in-person is that we're losing that time where a woman is committing all of that attention to herself. It becomes a special thing. We intentionally call our locations boutiques, not shops, right? We want it to be a uplifting and confidence building circumstance for her. And that is hard to capture when the dog's barking in the background and the baby's crying in the other room, and their internet is lagging because their son's Zoom class is going off. So that part is what the pros of being easy and accessible for a lot of people. The con is you're layering it in with so many other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. One of the things that we've been talking about, United Way, we're in the middle of our workplace campaign season. And so for those of you who are not yet familiar with that, it essentially gives donors the opportunity to give directly from their paychecks on a regular basis throughout a year so that your total impact is bigger. But it comes in smaller increments, so it's much easier to digest, which is lovely. And part of what United Way envisions our role is going to be in the coming months, years, is a recovery and stabilization support system. And so that's something we've been talking about when we've been meeting with a lot of these teams of employees throughout the triangle, is we're seeing these systemic inequities being exposed because of the pandemic. We're seeing gaps widen as a result. And if we're seeing that now, as we continue to go, it's going to get worse. And so in order for our community to be able to recover, we're going to need to continue to support it, both as volunteers and as donors. So I wanted to ask you, what role do you envision that Dress for Success will play in strengthening the Triangle in the future and helping Triangle residents recover? And why are funds from United Way important for that?
I think it's all of the signs, all the research so far point to women being disproportionately impacted by the pandemic in every way, especially including employment. And that is doubly true for women of color. So I've heard this a lot in the last few weeks. She session, right? That's what people are calling this, is the she session, because it is being felt so much by women. So I think we are absolutely the right organization to help with counterbalancing that. I touched on earlier, and certainly Anita said it as well, the importance of figuring out your transferable skills to move from industries that are going to be impacted for a long time, if not forever, right? And so anything we can do to help women see that change for themselves, build their confidence, offer them the scrubs if that's the route they go, whatever that may mean for that person. I think that's the role we play for that. Historically, we have served a very large percent of the women we serve have been women of color. There have also been a large percent who are single mothers or the breadwinners for their family. So I think by helping the women, we help the family, we help the community, right? There is a ripple effect of what we do for the whole community.
Absolutely. I only have a certain amount of faces that I can see on one screen at one time, but I'm seeing all the women go, yep. I think we can all feel that deep in our core, whether or not this pandemic has affected our career or not, or affected the longevity of our career, I should say. I think everybody's career has been affected in some manner.
And if I can just add real quick, Devin, I realized I only answered one part of your question. The importance of funding, as you mentioned at the very beginning, we get United Way funds in several different ways. And the importance of that funding to us, one, it allows us to do amazing things like the collaboration, where we're able to offer wraparound services to our clients, because if a client needs medical help that they can't afford or food, you can't really build your strengths if you're hungry or if you're worried about this medical. So creative solutions like that, the funding underpins our ability to participate in that and make a real difference for that client. The other year-long funding, like what we get, the support from Tend to Watch, and certainly the support from individual donors, that is the backbone of us staying here, keeping the lights on and the doors open. We have fabulous clothing donors, and that is amazing. But as one of my board members loves to say, Duke Power will not take a dress. So we absolutely need some funding to literally keep the lights on and the doors open. And knowing we can count on, because one of the greatest things about the United Way is it is a pledge looking forward. So we know we can commit, we can count on that funding for a period of time. So we know the light bill is covered for this year, or, whatever the case may be. So that funding is vital to us. We don't have to waste energy on that. We can focus on the job at hand.
Fantastic. Thank you for that answer. Before we go on to the last one, I wanted to note for folks who might be familiar, United Way did launch a rapid response fund back in March in direct response to the pandemic. And we just recently announced that we have, for now at least, distributed the very last penny of it. So that's over $1.4 million was raised and then donated to 104 separate organizations in the Triangle, Wake, Durham, Orange, and actually Johnson County as well, to be specific. There are moments of crisis where funds like that, the immediate need for funds, where that has an incredible impact. And when you also donate to United Way over a longer period of time, that supports these long-term, the long-term planning, the long-term success, the long-term impact that Heather's talking about. And that's not just in organizations who are providing immediate services such as housing or food, but also ones who are supporting systemic change, who are helping to move people from an experience of poverty to an experience of social mobility, if you will. And so for anybody who is interested in seeing the organizations that we fund year round, there are 85 of them currently. And you can go to our website, which is unitedwaytriangle.org. We do those, we do an RFP on a 2-year cycle. So we will be opening up another one and announce new funded partners in the next year. But those are all available on our website. So feel free to take a look, because the organizations that you love and trust are probably on that list. So last question, Heather. Normally, in a normal campaign season, in a normal world, volunteers would be able to come and support you guys in person. And so I wanted to find out, A, do you guys have volunteer opportunities right now? And B, what do they look like? And C, how can they get in touch with you?
We absolutely, as I said early on, we rely on our volunteers to make the magic happen. It looks a little different to volunteer now, as these photos show. There are currently in-person opportunities with our donation centers on those donation days that I mentioned, and then the weeks following to actually process those clothing donations. As you can see in those photos, it's mask required, socially distanced. We have a roughly 5,000 square foot warehouse space that those donations get processed in. So there's plenty of room to spread out. We also we utilize volunteers when we do our excess inventory sales. So I know there's opportunities on the 20th and the 21st, and there may be some opportunities before that for setup for the sale, because we do turn our boutique into a retail space during that time frame. I know we are continuing to do volunteer trainings for career coaches and image coaches. I'm not sure that the need for those right now is so high that, you might have to go through the process and then wait a bit before we, get called upon. There is a portion of that training that is shadowing that can be a little bit more challenging in this environment.
Right.
And then we also have opportunities for different, maybe they're one-off things, maybe they are like the person who took these photos of our volunteers was a volunteer. We had a video at an event yesterday that was done by a volunteer. So we have committee and board structure like many folks do. So, and I should probably have mentioned earlier that you can, on our website, you have the ability to refer yourself as a client. You also have the ability to show that you're interested in volunteering. So those opportunities are there. For the sale opportunities, there's no training necessary. We'll give you that on the spot. You don't have to go through our orientation process ahead of that.
Got it. Great. And how do they get in touch with you?
Like I said, the website might be the easiest way. I'm assuming if folks are on a Zoom meeting, they're comfortable with the internet. So that is dfstrianglenc.org. The DFS is Dress for Success. And like I said, if you look under services, that's where you can do the clients, events, different opportunities all through there. My email address is heather.dennis@dfstrianglenc.org. So they can shoot me an email too if need be.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So thank you everybody for sticking in there so far. We're to the Q&A session. And thank you, Heather and Anita, for your incredible answers. This has been enlightening and energizing for me. Feel free to drop questions in the chat. We do have a couple already, so we can start there. So the first one says, Dress for Success has been around for some time now. Have you seen any shifts in the demographics of the women that you support, or shifts in the reasons why they're utilizing Dress for Success?
We definitely saw a shift after the pandemic started. I would say before that, we were kind of booming, right? We had low unemployment here in the Triangle. We have a lot of fantastic employers. People were moving here for jobs. So a lot of the women that we saw were focused on career advancement. Maybe they had a higher degree and were looking, maybe they moved here because their spouse took a job here or something along those lines. We did also see a fair number of women who were returning to the workforce after a caretaking break, whether that was with their child or with a parent or older family member that they were caring for. Pretty significant change post-pandemic and, as the unemployment skyrocketed right after that, we saw a more varied client come to us. We still see women with higher degrees. I mean, someone like Anita who has, many years of experience, and it is situational with her unemployment. We are also seeing those women who were maybe in less career trajectory fields that just need to get in a better path for them.
Gotcha. Thank you. And you pointed out something too, with Anita's story. People have an idea, when people receive support from nonprofit organizations, I feel like people have a mental image of who that person is. And that person varies so widely, and their experience and their need is so different from one person to the next. And it is a great example that when you do donate to an organization, or you do go to learn more about them, to leave your judgment at the door and to understand that like everybody is different and every situation is different, and there's no one size fits all for client, and there's no one size fits all solution.
Absolutely.
The next question said, after going through Dress for Success's programs, what kind of jobs or fields do your clients typically find themselves in?
Again, there's quite a variety. We find a lot of people who are interested in going into different aspects of the medical field. We hear a lot of that. We get a fair number of, I'll say, social services type things, social workers, maybe childcare, maybe teachers, some of that. But we also get a fair number in the tech fields. And then we get some folks who come to us and say, I know what I don't want to do, but I don't know what I want to do yet, right? And that's where Strength Builders comes in. That's where those transferable skills, and saying, like Anita said, okay, I'm really good at this, but I'm also a supporter. So what career puts that mixture of skills together? So, as I said earlier, we try really hard not to get preconceived that everybody should be an engineer or a nurse or, whatever, but really look at what the person's interest and skill sets are and what career path would mesh well with that, and then set up a plan to get down that path.
Very cool. I would definitely be the person that would come in and say, I know what I don't want to do. Anything related to math. Right. Well, is there anything that we haven't talked about, or that hasn't been shared yet, or hasn't been asked yet, that either of you would like to share?
I would love if Anita, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, if you would talk about a little bit how your experience with GPN, like, was there one speaker or one takeaway that made you feel like this is the light bulb moment for me?
That's a great question, Heather. I would have to say this entire journey has been such an aha moment for me. Who would have thought at this point in my career that I would need to start all over again? And as I said, I'm embracing this season of new beginnings, and excited about my future because of all of the many things that I was able to tap into during this period, and my connection with Dress for Success. So it's hard for me to identify just one aha moment, because there were so many opportunities and so many moments where I just said, wow, it allowed me an opportunity to do a lot of soul searching. Like I said, when I got the word that I was losing my job in April, immediately I got on the website, because I had always been receiving the newsletter from Dress for Success. So I was always connected. I would always attend the Dress for Success sales. So the moment that I knew I was going to be out of work, I immediately went to the website and saw that these classes were available. So May 2nd, I think it is, I started my first class, which was the Going Places Network. And I have been taking classes from LinkedIn, how to develop and build my brand, how to make my online career search presence more effective through the LinkedIn class, the resume writing class. I had not updated my resume, and I know that's something that, you know, we're supposed to do, but you don't. We get complacent and we don't do these things. So connecting with Dress for Success and being a client of Dress for Success, there have been so many opportunities over the past few months with the classes that I've taken. As I said, did the Going Places Network, the Career Transition Forum. So I've had so many speakers that have just been incredible and has helped me through this journey. And as I said, I feel so empowered and I'm just ready. Interviews have been coming in, just have not found the right fit yet. And I know it's just a matter of time because I have developed that confidence to be ready to get back out there because of the Dress for Success program.
Amazing.
So, I don't know if that answers your question, but
you did great. Okay. That employer is going to be lucky to have you, Anita.
Thank you. Thank you, Heather.
Yeah, and I do hope you'll update us when you do
find
exactly where you want to land.
I will. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, I want to thank you both so much. Like I said, this has been energizing. It's so easy to feel tired on a Friday, and these conversations always get me going for the rest of the day. So thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who's joined us. We will have more Unwrapped events episodes in November, so keep an eye out for our website for those. In the meantime, we'll be around. You know where to find us, and I hope you all have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Talk to you all soon.
Bye-bye.